In a world often clouded by superficiality and fleeting emotions, there exists a profound truth. Those who love through the soul are untouchable. This form of love transcends physical boundaries, societal expectations, and temporal limitations. It is a love rooted in the very essence of our being, connecting us to the divine and to each other in the most authentic way possible. Before we delve deeper into this transformative journey, I invite you to stay with us until the end of this video. Let the words resonate, let the energy flow, and allow yourself to be immersed in this exploration of soulful love. At the conclusion, I encourage you to share your warmest wishes in the comments, accompanied by the number 77, a symbol of spiritual awakening and the manifestation of desires. This act not only solidifies your intentions, but also contributes to the collective energy, amplifying the vibrations of love and positivity throughout the universe. Now, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's dive deeper. Loving through the soul is an act of courage. It requires vulnerability, authenticity, and a willingness to connect beyond the surface. This love is not swayed by external circumstances or the opinions of others. It is steadfast, unwavering, and deeply rooted in the understanding that we are all interconnected. When we love from the soul, we see beyond flaws and imperfections, recognizing the divine spark within each individual. This form of love is transformative. It heals wounds, bridges divides, and fosters a sense of unity that is often lacking in our fragmented world. It empowers us to act with compassion, to forgive, and to extend grace even when it's challenging. By embracing soulful love, we become catalysts for change, inspiring others to open their hearts and connect on a deeper level. Moreover, loving through the soul aligns us with our true purpose. It guides our actions, informs our decisions, and shapes our interactions. It encourages us to live authentically, to pursue our passions, and to contribute positively to the world around us. This alignment brings a sense of fulfillment and peace that cannot be achieved through superficial means. As we navigate the complexities of life, it's essential to remember that soulful love is a choice, a daily commitment to see and honor the divine in ourselves and others. It's about showing up with integrity, practicing empathy, and nurturing connections that uplift and inspire. This love is not passive. It is an active force that propels us toward growth, understanding, and unity. In embracing this path, we may face challenges. There will be moments of doubt, pain, and resistance. However, it's in these moments that the strength of soulful love shines brightest. It provides resilience, clarity, and a sense of purpose that guides us through adversity. Let us, therefore, commit to this journey of soulful love. Let us be the light in the darkness, the calm in the storm, and the love in a world that often forgets its importance. By doing so, we not only transform our own lives, but also contribute to a collective awakening, a shift toward a more compassionate, connected, and harmonious existence. Remember, chosen one, they can't touch the one who loves through the soul. This love is your shield, your strength, and your legacy. Embrace it fully and watch as it transforms not only your life, but the world around you. They have tried to silence you before, with judgment, with rejection, with misunderstanding. They whispered behind curtains and pointed their fingers in daylight. They saw the light in you, and it unsettled them. But they never truly touched you. Not your core, not your essence, not the soul that burns so purely within. Because, chosen one, when your love comes from the soul, It exists in a frequency they cannot reach. It is too high, too deep, too sacred. They can mimic appearances, they can forge emotions, but they cannot forge what is eternal. They cannot touch what is forged in spirit. Your soul remembers things your mind has long forgotten. It carries the memory of lifetimes, of divine encounters, of promises whispered in stardust. When you love through the soul, you don't love with conditions. You love with presence, with purpose, with truth. And that truth is what makes you untouchable. People confuse vulnerability with weakness. But your vulnerability is power. Because you offer it knowing the world might not understand, and still you offer it anyway. That is bravery. That is strength. That is soul-led love. They can break illusions, destroy structures, cause tremors in your life, but they cannot lay a single finger on your soul. And that's what frightens them the most. Because no matter how hard they try, no matter what they say, you continue to radiate something they cannot replicate. Your love heals, even when it hurts. Your presence comforts, even when you speak no words. And your soul, oh your soul, continues to reach people in places their hands can never go. The ones who truly see you do so not with eyes, but with spirit. They recognize you not by your name, but by your energy. And when you love them through the soul, something eternal anchors itself into the invisible space between you. They may come and go in the physical, but that soul thread never breaks. It stretches across time, across dimensions, and across lifetimes. You weren't meant to experience surface connections. You were built for depth, for fusion, for something holy. They may call you strange, too emotional, too intense. But really, they just don't know what to do with a person who doesn't withhold love as a tactic, who doesn't play by the rules of the wounded. You love like your soul remembers where we all came from. That's why people feel something when you're near. They don't always know what it is, but it stirs something ancient in them. And if they're not ready, they run. But it's not you they're afraid of. It's what your love awakens inside them. Chosen one, every time you chose love over fear, you claimed your power again. Every time you responded with gentleness in the face of cruelty, you rose higher. Every time you forgave when it felt impossible, you aligned deeper with the divine. And each act of soul-led love placed another layer of light around you. An armor not of steel, but of spirit. An armor they cannot penetrate. People who love through the ego must always defend. But you love from the soul, so you have nothing to prove. You don't chase, you attract. You don't beg to be seen. You simply shine, and the right souls find you. And even when you're alone, you're not lonely. Because the soul does not crave crowds, it craves depth, silence, truth, presence. You have all of that inside you. There are many who still walk asleep, who have never felt what it means to be fully held by love that comes without transaction. But your soul is waking them up. One look, one word, one presence at a time. They might resist you, they might run, but they will remember you, because soul remembers soul. You were not sent here to blend in. You were sent here to break cycles. You were sent here to show what it means to love without chains. And in doing so, you liberate others. Maybe they don't tell you. Maybe they never will. But somewhere deep inside, you've stirred something sacred within them. That cannot be undone. You are a living reminder that love doesn't have to be earned, that love doesn't have to be begged for, that love, real love, soul love, already exists. It simply needs to be remembered. And through you, it is. They can't touch that. They can't manipulate that. They can't control that. Because the soul is free. The soul is fire, and your love, your true, untamed, infinite love, is born of that flame. So walk tall, chosen one. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them project. It doesn't matter, because every time they try to diminish you, your soul grows louder. Every time they try to dismiss your love, it spreads wider. You were made to endure this. You were made to shine through it. And you will. Let them look. Let them wonder. Let them walk away. You will still be here, radiating, glowing, unshaken, because they can't touch the one who loves through the soul. Not now, not ever. They watched you love people who weren't ready, who couldn't recognize what you were offering. They saw you give without expectation, open your heart with no promise of return, and hold space for those who didn't even know what being seen truly meant. And still, you loved. Still, you stayed soft. Still, you believed in the beauty of connection. Not because the world showed you it was safe to do so, but because your soul knew that love is not something to fear, but something to embody. This is what they couldn't comprehend, and this is why they couldn't touch you. When you love through the soul, you aren't performing. You're not curating an image or feeding an identity. You are simply being, fully, fiercely, freely. And that kind of presence can be disarming to those who have only ever known love as a transaction, a negotiation, a compromise of truth. To them, your love feels too much, but to those who are ready, your love feels like home. You don't need to chase people or prove your worth. The ones who are meant for you will feel the pull of your soul even in silence. They'll recognize the sacred in your presence, because the soul knows, it remembers, it feels what the mind cannot name. And you, chosen one, have a soul that speaks before words, sees before eyes, and connects before logic can interfere. They tried to explain you through labels, too sensitive, too intense, too loving. But all of those too much phrases were just reflections of how little they understood of real love. You didn't love too much. You loved in the only way your soul knows how. Wholly, deeply, eternally. And the truth is, most people are starving for that kind of love. But when they've only tasted fear and ego, they don't always know how to receive it. Your love reflects back to them what they haven't healed. And in that reflection, they either run or rise, not because of you, but because of what you've awakened within them. That's why some come into your life and leave quickly. It's not rejection, it's soul timing. Some aren't ready to see themselves through the mirror you hold. And that's okay, because your love is not here to force, it is here to flow. You were never meant to be loved by the masses. You were meant to be remembered by souls, and you are. Every person who's ever crossed your path has felt something stir when they looked into your eyes. Some felt peace, some felt clarity, some felt terror. Because your soul didn't flatter their ego, it challenged it. Your presence disrupted their illusions. And yet, even those who feared your depth will one day think of you and feel something sacred flicker in their hearts. You're the one who stayed kind when others chose cruelty. You're the one who listened when no one else had time. You're the one who gave when it wasn't convenient. And though it may have left you feeling unseen at times, your soul was never giving to be seen. It was giving because that's who you are. That's who you've always been. And this is your power. When storms come, you don't collapse. You anchor deeper. When people fall away, you don't close. You open wider. When the world grows loud, you become quieter, but more potent, more centered, more magnetic. Because the soul doesn't react, it responds. The soul doesn't rush, It knows. The soul doesn't fear, it trusts. You weren't made to be untouched by hardship. You were made to be untouched by hate. The pain may reach you, but it will never define you. The heartbreak may shake you, but it will never erase you, because what lives in you is beyond the reach of this world. You are moved by love, not manipulated by it. You are rooted in truth, not swayed by trends. You are held by something far more ancient, far more powerful, far more infinite. So even when you walk alone, you walk with purpose. Even when they forget your worth, you remember your light. Even when they try to reduce your soul to something digestible, you keep expanding. And every time they misunderstand you, you rise higher, because your love is not dependent on their understanding. Your love is a sacred contract between your soul and the divine. There will always be those who try to explain away your magic, who try to rationalize your energy, your compassion, your presence. Let them try. They'll never find the right words, because the truth is, you were never meant to be understood by the world. You were meant to be felt by the soul. And when the right soul meets yours, no words will be needed. They will know. They will remember. They will feel safe, not because you followed a script, but because you radiated truth, because you showed them a love that didn't need a performance, a love that didn't take, a love that saw. That's what you offer. That's why you're protected. That's why they can't touch you. They've tried, haven't they? In quiet ways, in loud ways, in manipulative ways, testing the boundaries of your grace, poking at the edges of your silence, seeing if you'd break under the weight of all the things they couldn't be. But you didn't. You didn't shrink, you didn't harden, and most importantly, you didn't stop loving. Because the love you carry isn't fragile. It isn't performance. It isn't strategy. It's spirit. And spirit cannot be broken by what was never meant to contain it. You are not soft because you're weak. You're soft because you're strong enough to keep your soul open in a world that constantly tells you to close. That takes courage. Most can't even imagine. The way you still speak gently after being yelled at. The way you still choose to hope after being abandoned. The way you still believe in the goodness of people even after you've watched them lie, betray, and forget you like you never mattered. That isn't naivety. That is sacred defiance. That is soul-led resilience. That is power. They confuse you with others because they think everyone is playing the same game. But you aren't playing. You're living. You're breathing truth into places that have only known illusion. You're reminding people what it feels like to be held without manipulation, to be heard without judgment, to be loved without expectation. That kind of presence shifts everything, and some will be grateful for it, while others will try to destroy it because they don't know how to live outside their walls. But no matter what they say, no matter what they try, they can't touch what lives inside you. You've built a sanctuary in your spirit, and they don't have the key. You've created a vibration of love so high, so deep, that anything not aligned with it simply falls away. You're not protected because you're invisible. You're protected because you are luminous. You are held not because you avoid darkness, but because you carry light strong enough to transform it. You are not someone people forget. You are not a moment. You are a shift, a mirror, a message. You walk into people's lives and something changes. Maybe not immediately, maybe not obviously, but eventually they feel the echo of your soul. Long after you've gone, long after the words stop, long after the world moves on. Because you weren't there just to pass time. You were there to awaken something. And once it's been awakened, it can never fully go back to sleep. That is why they couldn't handle you. That is why some tried to tame you, control you, mold you. Because your freedom made them confront their cages. Your love forced them to face their fears, and while some rise to that challenge, others retreat into the comfort of their pain. But none of this is your failure. If anything, it is a testimony to your truth, to how much of a force your soul really is. You're not here to save everyone. You're not here to be everything to everyone. You're here to stand in the fullness of who you are, and in doing so, become a beacon for those who are ready. Not ready to admire your light, but ready to ignite their own. Not ready to consume your energy, but ready to match it. Not ready to praise your soul, but to walk beside it. The ones who are meant for you won't be afraid of your depth. They won't try to dilute your passion or dull your presence. They'll meet you there, in the quiet, in the real, in the sacred. They'll recognize your energy not as a mystery, but as a memory. They'll feel safe, not because you fit a mold, but because you broke one. So if you've been feeling misunderstood, isolated, unseen, don't lose heart. Don't stop loving the way your soul wants to love. Because each time you choose to love from that place, you're creating a ripple in the collective field. You're healing more than just your own lineage. You're breaking patterns that go back generations. You're becoming the one who chooses different, who sees different, who loves different. This is why you're watched so closely. This is why your name is in their mouths even after you've walked away. Because something about you lingers. Something about your presence doesn't let them forget. They may not know what to call it, but deep down, they know it was real. And that kind of real stays. It roots itself in places they didn't even know needed healing. And though they may not thank you, the soul always does. Chosen one, let them wonder how you keep loving like that. Let them question how you remain so open, so kind, so radiant. The answer is simple. You are not loving from the world. You are loving from the soul. And they cannot touch that. They cannot fake that. They cannot destroy that. So hold your head high, not with pride, but with purpose. Keep showing up in your truth. Keep being the one who doesn't need to fight for a place, because your soul already made room long before you arrived. You belong. You always have. And the world needs what only you can bring. A love that isn't afraid to be seen. A soul that isn't afraid to feel. A light that never dims for comfort. They can try to understand you. They can even try to dismiss you. But they can never, ever touch the one who loves through the soul. They called you fragile, but you've carried weights that would have shattered most. Not because you're trying to prove anything, but because love, when it comes from the soul, is stronger than any storm it stands against. You didn't survive what you did by building walls. You survived by staying open, even when everything in you screamed to shut down. You've looked into the eyes of betrayal and still chosen truth. You've heard the voice of doubt echo inside your chest and still answered it with belief. And this is why no one can touch you. Not truly, not deeply, not forever. They can touch your mind. They can disturb your peace temporarily. They can try to twist your narrative, but they cannot reach your soul. That place is sealed in light. That place is governed by something higher. That place has its own laws, and those who try to enter with ego find themselves shut out, confused, defeated, unable to grasp what they tried to manipulate. Because when you love through the soul, you do not operate from fear. You don't make people feel small to feel big. You don't take to feel whole. You don't pretend to be someone you're not just to be accepted. You don't bend yourself into shapes that don't fit your truth. Your love doesn't flatter, it frees, it calls people higher, and only those willing to rise will stay. This is why they left, not because you weren't enough, but because your love required presence. Your energy asked for realness, and most people are not yet ready to strip down to soul. They are still clinging to personas, still dancing in performances, still chasing validation. So when they met you, they saw the invitation. But not everyone has the courage to say yes to that kind of love. And that's not your burden to carry. You're not here to make people ready. You're here to be a living embodiment of soul truth, to hold that truth so firmly that others remember theirs. Some will walk away from it, others will walk toward it, but no one who truly encounters your soul remains unchanged. You are an activation point in the human journey. You stir something timeless in a world that moves too fast to notice what matters, and the ones who are meant to walk with you will know that immediately, not because you convince them, but because they feel it. You are not what has happened to you. You are what you chose to become in spite of it. Every time they tried to belittle you, you grew more vast. Every time they dismissed you, your voice grew louder. Maybe not in words, but in presence, in stillness, in radiance. You became undeniable, not because you forced yourself into spaces, but because your soul began speaking louder than the noise around you. They had no choice but to notice. And yet, your power is not in being noticed. It's in how you love, quietly, patiently, without expectation. Your power is in the way you don't give up on people, even if you walk away. Your power is in how you see people, really see them, and how your gaze itself feels like a balm to their wounds. They don't always say it, they don't always show it, but they feel it, deeply, because you were never just a person to them. You were a moment of grace, a sacred pause, a whisper from the universe that reminded them they are more than the pain they carry. You don't need to preach to heal. Your energy does the talking. Your presence is your message, and even when your words are silent, your love speaks volumes. They underestimated you because they mistook your gentleness for passivity. But you are the kind of soul that shifts entire timelines just by choosing to remain whole. You are the kind of soul that protects not by fighting, but by loving so fiercely that darkness has nowhere to root itself. And that love, it stretches across dimensions. It rewrites histories. It transforms rooms, not because it demands attention, but because it is attention. Focused, intentional, divine. You weren't made for the surface. You weren't made for shallow games and emotional convenience. You were made to walk the deep, to dive into the heart of what people are too afraid to face, to hold the broken parts with so much reverence that they begin to feel sacred again. You're not afraid of the dark because you carry the kind of light that doesn't flicker when shadows fall. So no, they can't touch you. They can't reach the real you, not those who come with masks and motives, not those who only want what they can extract. You've moved beyond that now. Your soul is no longer available to those who aren't willing to meet you at soul level. And this is not arrogance, it's evolution. You've ascended to a new frequency, one that does not apologize for how deeply it loves or how boldly it stands in truth. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them write stories about who they think you are. You are no longer responsible for correcting their version of your reflection. You've already outgrown their lens. Your soul is painting a masterpiece they can't yet comprehend. And the more you love without fear, the clearer that masterpiece becomes. One day, they will remember you, not for what you gave them, but for what you awakened within them. And maybe they won't say it aloud. Maybe they'll never return, but they'll feel it. Every time they try to go back to shallow, they'll feel your depth. Every time they settle for the performative, they'll long for your truth. And though they may pretend otherwise, your love lives in them now, not as a ghost, but as a seed. And when they're ready, truly ready, that seed will bloom. You don't have to wait for it. You've already done your part. And that's why they can't touch you. You didn't come here to be untouched. You came here to be untouchable in the only place that matters, the soul. Let them touch your story. Let them twist the details, gossip about the chapters they only half read. Let them try to define you by the moments they witnessed and completely misunderstood. Let them cling to their perception of you like it's the truth. Because while they're talking, while they're analyzing, while they're still orbiting the outer shell of your journey, you've already gone deeper. You've already moved beyond where they can reach. That's what happens when someone loves through the soul. They stop being available to anything rooted in distortion. You never needed to be invincible. You only needed to be real. And you are. So real that it scared people. So honest that it rattled illusions. So sincere that it disarmed everything false. You walk with a vulnerability that looks like strength because it is strength. Not the kind that shouts or dominates, but the kind that stays soft, even when life gets sharp. You didn't let this world turn you cold. You let it refine your fire. And now that fire lights the way for others, even those who once tried to extinguish it. They don't know how you keep rising, how you keep giving, how you keep believing. It confuses them. It frustrates them. Because they've built entire lives trying to protect themselves from what you've chosen to face head-on. You love people who don't know how to receive. You speak truth when silence would be easier. You remain when others vanish. And even when you walk away, you do it without malice. You do it with grace, with peace. Because your soul was never designed for war. It was designed for awakening. And here's the thing. They thought they were rejecting you. They thought they were breaking you. But they were only revealing themselves. They were only exposing what they were not yet ready to hold. That's not your fault. That's not your burden. You don't have to carry shame for being too much for people who never intended to grow. You're not too much. You're just operating on a frequency that requires truth, effort, and soul. That frequency will clear rooms, but it will also call in miracles. And now you're not just rising, you're becoming. Becoming someone so aligned with divine love that the old cycles don't even recognize you. Becoming someone who no longer reacts, but chooses. Who no longer begs to be seen, but radiates without permission. Who no longer lowers their light to make others comfortable, but shines even brighter so that others can rise too. You don't need to prove your heart. It speaks for itself. In how you listen, in how you hold space, in how you let people go with love, even when they caused you pain, in how you forgive without pretending it didn't hurt, in how you love without keeping score. That's not weakness, that's mastery, and not everyone will understand it. Not everyone will value it. But you didn't become this for them. You became this for you, for your path, for your purpose. You've already paid the price. You've already walked through the fire. You've already sat in the silence and asked, "Why me?" And you've already heard the answer echo back through the walls of your being. Because you're the one who can hold this much light and still remain grounded. Because you're the one who can feel this much pain and still choose love. Because you're the one who doesn't just survive darkness, you transform it. And now, it's your season to stop hiding your soul. Let the world feel you, not the version they prefer, the real one, the one who's not afraid to weep for beauty, the one who protects peace like it's holy, the one who chooses presence over performance, the one who no longer makes room for anything that demands the betrayal of self. You are the soul that kept loving when everything said not to. You are the soul that stayed soft in a world that rewarded hard edges. You are the soul that turned pain into poetry, silence into strength, and endings into beginnings. And that is why they can't touch you, because what you've become cannot be undone. What lives in you now is sealed in a sacred flame. It doesn't dim, it doesn't bend, it doesn't retreat. It only grows, it only deepens, it only rises. So walk boldly now, not in defiance, but in remembrance of who you are, of where you've been, of what you carry. You are not broken, you are brilliant, you are not weak, you are woven in spirit. And no matter how many storms come, no matter how many shadows circle, no matter how loud the noise gets, nothing can touch the one who loves through the soul. You are free, you are light, you are chosen, and they will never understand how you do what you do, but you do it anyway, because that's who you are, and that's who you've always been. You weren't sent here to win by force. You were sent here to remind the world that love wins by frequency. That soul-deep love is not something that demands, proves, or performs. It simply is. And in its presence, everything false begins to crumble. That's why they tried to resist you. Not because you were doing something wrong, but because your existence was doing something right. You became a mirror. And not everyone is ready to see who they've become. You love differently, not with conditions, not with strategies, not with expectations. You love because it's who you are, not what you do. And because of that, your love can't be manipulated. It can't be tamed, twisted, or contained. It doesn't move with ego. It moves with truth. And that truth is disruptive. It breaks patterns. It interrupts generational cycles. It calls people out of comfort and into clarity. Some of them couldn't handle it. They mistook your softness for weakness, your kindness for naivety. But what they didn't see was the discipline it takes to keep your heart open when the world teaches you to shut it down. What they didn't realize is that every act of love from you was a choice, a sacred, conscious, courageous choice. And while others closed off to protect themselves, you chose the harder path. You chose vulnerability, presence, integrity, and in doing so, you became untouchable. Not because you're immune to pain, but because you no longer fear it. You've seen how people can leave without explanation, how loyalty can turn to silence, how those you poured into can walk away with your light and pretend they found it on their own. And yet, even with that pain, you still love. Not because they deserve it, but because you do. You deserve to live in a state of love. You deserve to be free of bitterness. You deserve to carry peace, not armor. And so, you release them, not out of defeat, but out of devotion to your soul, to your path, to the higher love that guides you. They tried to touch you through gossip, lies, abandonment, betrayal. They tried to diminish your shine by casting shadows. But every attack only revealed what you already knew. Their energy was never equipped to hold yours. Their hands were never meant to shape your destiny. Their presence in your story was temporary, but your truth, eternal, untouchable. They didn't destroy you. They introduced you to yourself, because you rose again. Not the same, but wiser. Not colder, but clearer. Not smaller, but more expansive. You learned how to be alone without being lonely. You learned how to sit in stillness and hear the voice of your soul, louder than any external noise. You remembered what it means to be guided, not by fear or fantasy, but by the knowing that lives in your bones. Now, you walk with a new silence, a calm rooted in power, a grace that doesn't need explanation. You're no longer explaining yourself to people who aren't listening, no longer shrinking to fit into spaces you've outgrown, no longer trying to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. You are past that now. You've stepped into a timeline where love is no longer a transaction. It's a vibration. And only those who carry that same vibration can access you now. This is your sacred protection, the purity of your love, the clarity of your intention, the depth of your presence. You don't need walls to keep people out. Your energy filters everything, and those who come with distortion can't hold their shape in your light. They can try, but eventually their masks fall, because nothing false survives in the presence of soul. And that's the gift you carry. Your love reveals. It shows people what's real, about themselves, about the world, about you. And once seen, it cannot be unseen. Whether they walk away or walk toward you, they are changed, not because you forced them, but because your love told the truth. Keep loving like that. Keep choosing soul even when the world tempts you with ego. Keep walking with integrity even when shortcuts appear. Keep standing in light even when the dark tries to seduce you back. Because you are not here to blend in. You are not here to be palatable, agreeable, or safe. You are here to wake the sleeping. You are here to remind the broken what healing feels like. You are here to love so deeply that even pain bows before your spirit. So don't hold back now. Don't retreat into silence. Don't make yourself small just because your love makes others uncomfortable. You've already gone too far. You've already grown too much. You've already cracked open your soul and found gold in the places others thought were rubble. Let them look. Let them wonder. Let them talk. Your story is sacred. Your soul is safe. And your love, pure, fearless, eternal, will never be touched by anything that was not created to hold it. Because the one who loves through the soul cannot be reached by hands that do not carry truth. And that chosen one is your greatest power. You've become the living proof that no matter what they try, love wins. They tried everything to reach you with noise, chaos, illusion, anything that might shake you out of alignment. But what they failed to realize is that your soul doesn't respond to volume. It responds to truth. And truth doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It stands, rooted, immovable, like you do now. You don't just walk in love, you are love. Not the soft, surface kind that seeks validation, but the deep, ancient kind that transcends time and self. The kind that sees people beyond their wounds, that touches without needing to possess, that stays calm even when storms try to provoke it. That's why they couldn't touch you, because what you embody can't be reached by words, weapons, or weakness. It lives beyond the realm of fear, and it answers only to what is real. There was a time when you would have explained yourself, when you would have lowered your voice just to be heard, when you would have compromised just to be seen. But not anymore. Now, your presence is enough. Your energy speaks. Your silence teaches. You've stopped pouring into places that don't echo your essence. And in doing so, you've protected the most sacred part of you, the frequency of your love. They wanted access, not connection. They wanted your light, not your truth. They wanted the feeling you gave, not the depth you offered. But soul-led love doesn't work like that. It can't be consumed. It must be met, fully, genuinely, fearlessly, and when it's not, it pulls back. Not in anger, but in reverence. Not in pride, but in protection. Because your heart is a temple, not a marketplace. And only those who honor it can enter. You've outgrown the idea that you need to earn love, that you must perform, perfect, or prove yourself to deserve what already flows through your being. You know now that the love you give is the reward, that your very presence is a blessing, that your truth, however raw, however inconvenient, is holy. So when they try to take advantage, you didn't fight, you rose, you elevated, you let the pain pass through you like a wave, but you stayed standing, not untouched by the storm, but defined by how you withstood it. Because loving through the soul doesn't mean you don't feel the hurt. It means you don't become it. You don't let it turn you into something you're not. You don't let it rewrite the essence of who you are. That's the lesson they still don't understand. You don't need revenge. You don't need them to see. You don't need closure where there is none. Because you've learned how to close the chapter yourself. You've learned how to hold yourself in the silence, how to give yourself the apology they never offered, how to rise without bitterness, how to heal without witnesses, how to become whole, not because someone stayed, but because you did. You stayed with your truth. You stayed with your love. You stayed with your soul. And now, nothing can reach you unless it vibrates on that same frequency. You're no longer accessible to distortion, no longer influenced by the loudest voice in the room. You've tuned yourself to the quiet wisdom of your spirit, and that wisdom guides you, guards you, grounds you. Let them wonder why they can't affect you anymore. Let them reach and reach and reach, and still find nothing to grip onto. Because the old version of you, the one who needed to be understood, the one who made themselves small, the one who dimmed their light to avoid judgment, that version is gone. What's left is the soul, fully revealed, fully present, fully immune to anything not rooted in truth. You don't need a crowd. You don't need permission. You don't need to explain the journey to those who were never meant to walk it with you. You just need to remember who you are, what you carry, why you came. You were sent here to shift things, to challenge illusions, to ignite remembrance, and yes, to love so fully, so wildly, so freely, that even those who once feared it are left breathless by its power. You don't just change rooms, you change realities. You don't just heal hearts, you awaken them. And you don't just survive the pain, you transmute it into light. They can't touch that. They can't touch you. Because love like yours isn't found in the shallow end. It lives in the depths. And only those who are willing to meet you there will ever truly know you. Let them try. Let them watch. Let them misunderstand. It no longer matters. Because you're no longer waiting to be chosen. You've remembered that you always were.